In this video, let's talk about how we could toggle completion. So I could click to have it maybe turn gray or have a line go through it, and then click again to undo it or to toggle it back. So the first thing we'll need to do is make sure that our to-dos have a way of keeping track of that. So when we make a new to-do instead of the form, aside from the ID, let's also say completed is false. That makes sense. When you first make a to-do, it should be not completed. Then let's go to our to-do.js. And in our to-do, when we're actually displaying the task right here, let's add a conditional class. So class name equals, and then we're going to check if this.props.completed. If this.props.completed is true, let's, what should we call this class? Let's just call it completed. It's not very exciting. Otherwise, we'll do an empty string. This is one option for it. We could also do that Boolean and thing we've seen. I'll do this just to contrast with how I normally do it, where I would do this.props.completed and get rid of this. But anyway, this works for us. Now we need to make sure we have a class called completed. So let's do that. I'm going to import ./todo.css, which does not exist. I'm going to make it. And then define our class completed. Now there'll be a lot more styles eventually when we style this, but completed is just going to have color turned to gray for now. Okay, and actually let's make it light gray so it's easier to see that it's changed. All right, and then we need to go to our render for the to-do list, and we need to make sure we're passing down completed. And that should be to-do.completed. Now there's a lot of stuff that we're passing down. We could just pass ID, task, and completed automatically with a single line, but I'm going to be explicit here just so we can see what's going on. But it is pretty easy to pass them down all at once. Okay, so now I think we should be able to see something. We won't actually be able to click and toggle it, but if I go into React and go to our state and manually change one of the values for completed, you can see that this one is grayed out. So as I toggle it on and off in the state, it is toggling completion here. Okay, so now we need to make two things. One, we need to go to our to-do and add an on-click to the li, so that when we click on the li right here, it calls some method in the parent that is going to update the state. The same pattern we followed with edit. So let's define a method called toggle completion, and it needs to take an ID. And then let's just take this entire thing here. It's the same process where we're finding, or we're mapping over all of the to-dos in the state. We're finding the one based off of an ID, and then we're returning that to-do, but instead of changing the task, we're going to change completed to be not to-do.completed. And that should do it for us. Now we do need to bind this. This.toggleCompletion equals this.toggleCompletion.bind this. And then we'll pass it down as a prop down here. So toggle to do equals this.toggleCompletion. So now our to do has a prop called toggle to do, and we need to call it from inside the to do. So we have a class name here. After that, let's do our on-click. On-click equals, and let's call it this.handleToggle. Doesn't exist. So up here, we need to bind it. Well, we have a lot of choices as far as order, but I'm going to bind it. And then define it. Down here, handle toggle. And we can use that event property, although there's nothing to use it for at the moment. And we're just going to call this.props.toggle to do. Make sure that was the name we passed it in under, toggle to do. And then we pass in the ID. And the ID is this.props.id. Same thing we did up here, except we don't need to pass in the task or anything because the toggle is automatic. We're not specifying if it should be true or false. We're just flipping it up top. Okay, so let's see if this works. We might be missing something. It's always hard to tell. And we click, and I can click again, and they're toggling on and off. So now all that we really could do is change the styles. If we wanted them to, instead of gray out, if we also want to strike through, we can go to our CSS, and I think it's text decoration is line through. I think it's line through. Yes, All right, so you can see we're getting that line going through it, and we're toggling completion. We can edit something, and it stays as completed in this case. It doesn't matter, and then I can delete it. It goes away. Delete it, make new ones, and they're automatically non-completed at the beginning. And then, yeah, all right, just repeating myself, it's working. And that's pretty much it, aside from some styling, maybe adding some transitions, making these buttons nicer. So that's a lot of work still, but the React side of things is done.